here at Claremont, and then you would prepare your own people and all those resources, then come, and so we will be able to work together. So that's how we have come to work together. So here we are. So we are beginning today. So welcome all of you again for this very significant event. Now the new religions of Korea, in Korea, are going to share their perspectives with some other international faculties and researchers and scholars to this event. So welcome all of you, and all these welcoming remarks will spend only 3 minutes. So John. Well, I am speaking for the Center for Process Studies. Very happy to be able to co-sponsor, even if we don't have any money to contribute to such events. I would like to just say a word about our past relationship with New Religions in Korea. This relationship has been because of Dr. Sang Byo-Kim. I began to learn something about ancient Korean culture and its distinctive contribution when I was the supervisor in the class program. So I learned a great deal from him. And when I was in Korea, he arranged for me to speak to a group of leaders of new religions in Korea. And I am convinced by him that Koreans deeply in their inherited culture are more sensitive to and understanding of the implications of process thinking than we Europeans and North Americans who are trying to figure it out in the 20th and 21st centuries. So I look forward to hearing from you, and you are certainly deeply welcome here in Claremont. John is so well known, so I really didn't have to introduce to all of you who he is. Okay, but now I'm going to introduce Yang Hyun-sung, who is also a graduate of this institution here. He is the chair and president of the Korean American Religious Council for Peace. 한미 종교협의회. He's at the part of the World Religious Conference for Peace. 양현승 박사, 그래서 지금 우리 먼저도 말씀드렸지만 우리 프로세스 센터의 재정이나 인력이 부족하기 때문에 늘 우리들이 종교평화협의회와 여러 가지 일들을 같이 해왔습니다. 그래서 우리 양현승 박사가 또 welcoming remarks을 해주셨습니다. Joe Yang is graduate of this institution, and he is now working as a United Methodist clergy. He is working in the community ministry, and he is also president of the Korean American Council, Religious Council for Peace. So he will greet us now. Come on.
This morning, my first job is sleeping on the floor for Professor John Kao. This is an honor to make a remarking. Most participants is Korean-speaking personnel, thus I like to use Korean language. Please, you don't mind. But one thing I like to share in English. I respect the Professor John Kao. There is no question. I'm very proud I graduated Claremont School. 방금 소개받은 미주 종교평화협의회 양현승 목사입니다. 여러분들 잘 오셨습니다. 저는 종교 간의 대화, 평화를 이야기할 때 거기에 참여하는 사람들은 부지런한 사람이라는 것을 항상 생각하고 있습니다. 그리고 저와 같이 기독교인이면서 다른 종교와 대화를 할 때는 더욱더 부지런해야 됩니다. 오늘 아침에도 다른 모임에 갔다 부지런히 뛰어왔습니다. 그 이야기는 여기 오늘 이번에 오신 분들은 자신이 가진 종교와 다른 종교 그리고 우리 민족의 앞길과 인류의 평화를 사랑하시는 분들입니다. 그래서 우리의 역할은 우리 민족이 분단되어 있지만 어느 날 하나가 되듯이 우선 종교가 서로 연합하여 대화를 하기를 희망합니다. 이번 학회에 오신 여러분들 환영합니다. 그리고 오늘 하루 종일 디너까지 무슨 일 있으면 저한테 말씀해 주시면 협조해 드리겠습니다. 도서관이 어디입니까? 예를 들어서 어디서 카피를 듭니까? 모든 것. 오늘로 그치지 마시고 학회를 통하셔서 크레몬트 신학대원에 필요하신 것, 미주 종교개혁에 필요하신 것, 심부름꾼으로 쓰시기 바랍니다. 여러분 환영합니다.
Also, we have another person. Really, you don't need an introduction. That is Sang Il Kim. Sang Il Kim is also a graduate of this great school, and he's the first the director of the Korea project at the Center for Process Studies. He is a very unique scholar, and he's began to really develop Korean indigenous thought, Hanism. So, well, he's very well known, so he's going to bring congratulatory remarks. Welcome. I'll give you one more minute.
Just 2 words. Thanks to Dr. Ham and the Process Center, and welcome all of them. And some people said new religion, some said native religion, some said national religion. There are many different names, but I think Korean new religion is process religion. Process religion, Dr. Howard said. This is an argument with Dr. Gawa and me. New religion, Korean new religion is process religion. There is process philosophy, process. So I have never heard of the process religion, but Korean religion is process religion. Dr. Wang is here. My dissertation is a Chinese religion is not process religion at all. That's my confrontation. But the Party Buddhism and the Confucianism was process mind, but Korean Buddhism and Confucianism fully developed. And why Korean religion is a process religion? Because I think the process mind is the harmony between personal being and the non-personal being, and the God and the creativity. I think Korean today the role of presentation represent being and relationship, harmony between non-being and being, and God and the creativity. As I hope all of them enjoying this thing today. And the end of the conference, you agreed that this is a symbol and the flag of Korean new religious, something like it. I and Dr. Moon will present in the 30 minutes about this flag and the symbols expected. And my English is not strong enough to express that. I prepare a little gift to Dr. Kang. Because my English is not strong enough to express thankful mind to you, so I prepared this gift. 간단히 우리말로 요약하면 한국 종교가 왜 과정 사상이냐 하면 오늘 여러분들이 발표하시겠지만 인격신과 인격신, 그다음에 신과 창조성, 이걸 완벽하게 조화시킨 것은 내가 생각할 때는 한국 종교가 가장 과정 사상이 맞다 하는 것이 이제 저의 이제 뭐 딴 얘기를 참 핵심이고 오늘 여러분들께서 그걸 다 외부 분들이나 또 우리 서로 모르는 분들도 이걸 알려주실 거다. 이게 이제 분이고 오늘 이 각 종단의 이 교단기를 통해서 충분히 이걸 현실적으로 보여주자 하는 것입니다. 감사합니다.
감사합니다. We are doing great. Very punctual. I would like to just at this point share with you how we will proceed today. We are very much confined by the time. 우리 시간이 굉장히 짧습니다. 2시간 내에 3분이 발표를 하고 3분이 논찬을. 그렇기 때문에 30분, 10분, 30분, 10분, 30분, 10분입니다. 그렇게 해서 120분입니다. 이게 다 아셨죠? 그러니까 지금 이제 김기대 박사님이 나오셔서 그 이제 첫 번 모더레이터를 하시고 참 그리고 오늘 진행상에 있어서 모든 문제가 제시될 때 제가 바쁜 일 느끼니까 좀 우리를 후원하시는 아까 말씀드린 대로 양현승 박사님께 뭐든지 의논을 해주시면 모든 걸 해결해 주시고 진행상의 문제를 풀겠습니다. 그러니까 그렇게 해주시고 정보 연락해 주시기 바랍니다. 그래서 꼭 시간을 30분 발표하시고 10분 발표하시고 들어갔다 나갔다 하시는 시간 좀 고려하셔서 그렇게 시간을 지키겠습니다. We are going to have spent 30 minutes for presentation and 10 minutes for critique response. 그렇게 해서 아침에 in the morning we are going to handle 3 papers and in the afternoon likewise. Welcome again. We are going to begin our first session. 기대 welcome. 오전 세션의 사회를 맡은 김기대 목사입니다. 여러분들 환영합니다. I am the moderator of first session and welcoming you, all of you. 오전 세션은 모두 3개의 논문을 이루어져 있고요. 우리 윤 목사님 말씀하셨듯이 시간 준비에 협조해 주시기 바랍니다. 먼저 첫 번째 페이퍼는 the first session은 New Religious Movement in South Korea. 한국의 새로운 종교운동을 공시를 주시고 가톨릭 대학교의 우혜란 교수님께서 발표해 주시고요. 님사 교수는 이곳 프레어먼트 신학교의 우리 윤경수 교수님께서 해주시고 The first paper is New Religious Movement in South Korea by Dr. Wu. She is a Catholic University of Korea. 앞으로 모시겠습니다.
During the time, each have was infected a new religion. Common periodization which is used to describe the historical development of Korean religion is as follows. First, a period of nation opening under the Japanese colonial rule, and after nation's independence, under rapid industrialization, and post-industrial period. I will read all of them, but rather the last part of the post-industrial period, because it is the main part of my manuscript. So I will skip. Since the 80s, the tendency to seek salvation at the individual level has been strengthened. The tendency relates to material abundance as well as to the advanced fragmentation of society brought about by the successful industrialization or modernization of South Korea. Consequently, all the new religions which propagate collective salvation have declined. At the same time, a totally new type of religious groups surfaced. These differentiate themselves from existing new religions by their non-hierarchical, loose organizational structure and the fact that they gather paying clients instead of committed believers. The appearance of these groups reflects the changed religious interests of modern people who are particularly concerned with the present, seeking inner peace and well-being in daily life, and simultaneously pursuing the maximization of their physical and mental capability to cope with the rapidly changing world around them. Accordingly, these new religious groups offer techniques that promise to produce perfect harmony between body and mind, while activating previously latent human abilities. Certainly, the spread of this kind of self-centered and peaceful religious activity outside established religion is not confined to South Korean society, but is a global phenomenon observed especially in post-capitalist societies and generally named Age or New Spirituality. The first school which made individuals cultivation popular is Dharma Sonon or Dharma Meditation Center, which has had a huge impact on late Victorian group, many of them directly modeled on its teaching and practice. The so-called T syndrome in the 90s made it possible for diversity training methods, including Chinese Qigong, to be introduced in the market. This training became highly commercialized and developed into a lucrative business sector. As a result, certain retraining groups expanded rapidly following the conglomerate format, as Dharma Sonon and Kizonje show. All indigenous retraining groups rest the so-called traditional Korean way of Taoist self-cultivation. In Korea, Taoism has been never institutionalized, but rather it has been assimilated with folk beliefs. During the later part of the dynasty, an attempt was made to systematize the philosophy and practice of a Taoist tradition named Vedanta, which aimed to activate Dan, means life force and perfection, by focusing on self-training, including diet, breath, and meditation, in order to be in tune with cosmic energy. Even though the tradition was not institutionalized and its teaching was not transmitted officially, all Korean ritual groups insist that they originated in this Taoist tradition. The popular Korean word Dosa reflects the pervasiveness of a religious ideal of reaching the state of perfection on its own. The term originally designates Taoist hermits or ascetics, especially those who gain supernatural powers through harsh self-training in seclusion in the mountains. There are still numbers of so-called Dosa in every famous mountain in South Korea. Therefore, it is not surprising that many of the existing between groups in South Korea were established by those who have so-called Dosa career behind them. This means that contemporary self-centered or subjective religiosity is not totally new in Korean religious tradition. However, current retraining is differentiated from its traditional form by having been made accessible to the general public via relatively well-structured groups which offer for a fee the necessary techniques. Since the 90s, not only traditional art of self-training but also diverse self-development programs have been offered. The latter usually combine the latest trends in Western psychotherapy with traditional meditation. Some of them demand quite a high price for their courses, which supposedly enables speedy enlightenment or total transformation of the self. A good example is the Avatar course, which was introduced to Korea in 1993. A Korean counterpart is Maum Sonon or Maum Meditation, which has grown rapidly, managing 93 meditation centers worldwide. I have heard the Maum Sudan one is quite famous in USA. In South Korea, new religions in a narrow sense, that is those with charismatic or authoritarian leadership, fixed doctrines, and the community of committed believers has been in a marginal position. This is despite the social cultural impact that a group older religions as Koha once had. According to the census of the National Statistical Office in 2005, even the biggest religion of Bujo has approximately 130,000 members. There is no consensus of the correct numbers, but it is about. Even when the members of well-known new religions, Wonbujo, Bujo, Daejongjo, Insamdo, and Daejongji are added up, they still amount to less than 1% of the general population. The number of Korean believers of the Unification Church is indefinable in official statistics because followers of the religion identify themselves as Protestants. In comparison with the weak presence of new religion, the statistics show the power of traditional religion is quite firm and relatively stable. However, what is not visible in the statistics is the increasing number of people who engage in the various self-preservation and self-development programs, because the statistic narrows down religion to institutionalized religion, such people are excised from the religious population. There is unfortunately no statistical survey in them, but there are rough estimates over 2 million who are participating in grade 50 training and around 5 million who are registered in diverse meditation programs, including Buddhist ones. Regardless of whether the above numbers are reliable, this signals that general interest in seeking religious or spiritual experience outside of established religion is broadening. It must be also taken into consideration that any of the people affiliated to an established religion are also involved in various self-training and meditation art and do not necessarily feel conflict between their religious confession and any extra self-training they take up. This is based both on the long history of religious pluralism in Korea and on the claim of self-training groups that they are not religions. Even though Korean Catholic and Protestant churches condemn these groups as anti-Christian, they are not able to prevent their members from taking part in such alternative self-training which operate in the private romantic spiritual way. I participated in 3 different workshops, including conducting institutional surveys from 2005 to 2006. You can read the survey results later. So I will come to the conclusion. So, in popular discourse, as well as in some areas of religious studies, the tendency to regard established religions as a model of religion still persists. Accordingly, non-mainstream or marginal religions, which are so-called new religions or new religious movements, have often been measured and compared unfavorably to traditional established religions. Sometimes, none or less institutionalized religious groups are not accepted as religions, and these groups' activities are hardly valued as genuinely religious. But we should not overlook the fact that people are increasingly constructing their own identities by themselves with the help of diverse methods or techniques afforded the religious marketplace. Even a person's affiliation with an institutionalized confession does not hinder this project. The pursuit of subjective religiosity, in other words, attaining self-transformation free from any religious institution, is not really new. Rather, it has a long tradition in Asian religious culture. Still, the way to realize this is certainly new. A broad spectrum of techniques and methods that are designed for the purpose have become available to the general public. What makes the contemporary religious landscape in South Korea interesting is the existence of religious individualism and the still influential established religions. If the former satisfy personal growth needs, the latter satisfy people's need to belong to communities which not ensure religious salvation but also provide social networks that are increasingly of importance in fragmented society. Even though these two different religious needs seem to be contradictory, they are not necessarily in tension with each other, as the above survey shows. Individual religious worlds are quite complex, allowing some degree of autonomy over which doctrines of established religions have power. To sum up, in order to understand the diversity and complexity of contemporary religious culture in Korea, more attention should be paid to the concrete experience of individuals rather than giving pre-made judgments on new religious phenomena, which are not really new when viewed at a close range. Thank you.
교수님 와서 인사해 주시고요. 질문은 그 시간 관계상 모든 데이터의 발표가 끝난 뒤에 한꺼번에 우리 발표자들 모시고 하도록 하겠습니다.
I feel more comfortable speaking, standing up rather than
선생님, 우리
sitting
앉으시면
down.
되는데 여기 하나 더 바꿔주시면.
Well, I'd like to welcome all of you to this campus. Division between new religion and old religion is itself a definition, a conceptualization, based on the assumption that somehow the established old religions provide the norm, in light of which then anything new should be understood as new and therefore as abnormal, as somehow deviant, and so forth. And I think that is a very good critical observation which I would like to endorse completely. But that does not mean that therefore we have to regard every religion as equally valid or equally indifferent and so on. That it seems to me is another way of dismissing the value of all religions. My suggestion therefore is to keep that kind of critical perspective, not just applying it to the new religion, but to all religions, including all the old religions. And I can tell you that all the old religions have plenty of things to be criticized. And so maintain that kind of critical perspective on all religions rather than simply saying that the new religions are just as legitimate as old religions, which does not really solve all the issues there. There are many problems raised by religion, old or new. And so that's my rather simplistic first reflection. The second point I want to make is this. While reading her paper, I realized that the word new and new religions covers many different things, So when I was growing up in the 60s, 70s, and so forth, new religions always meant Chondojo and Daejeonjo and Wonbuljo and so forth. But she is pointing out that since 1980, we have the emergence of a specifically very different kind of religiosity, which does not belong to any institution, which is not organized, which is, in her term, very individualistic, centered on the individual subject, in isolation from any organized religions and so forth. And that means then we have to recognize a kind of a distinction between the new religions which are more organized and institutionalized. Therefore, the new religion in the traditional classical sense, you might say, and the new religion, which is a wholly different variety of religion that we are beginning to observe today. So I think that even whenever we use a new terminology like new religion, there is always the danger of essentializing, as though the word religion means one and the same thing for all the different religions. There is a great deal of variety within the category of new religions, and sometimes the differences are quite remarkable. And I'm not sure whether the new religion in the classical sense will look upon the new religion in a very kindly way. I suspect that Wonbuljo, Daejeonjo, and Chondojo will have all kinds of critical remarks to be made on the new religious phenomena. I suspect. That's what my suspicion. And so my second point is that we should try to understand the term new religions in terms of certain complexity and diversity in that term, and we should not try to essentialize that term to cover all the religions as though they are the same. My third point, it seems to me that the fact that we have a large-scale phenomenon of new religions, each individual trying to find his own self-development, self-salvation, self-liberation, without belonging to any religions, is itself a real devastating critique of the existing old established religions. And it seems to me that all the old religions, including the old established new religions, will have to examine themselves and see where they are failing. Why is that somehow people do not find any comfort and consolation and fulfillment in the existing kind of religiosity? Why are they flocking to all these new centers of Nanak, Sonmon, and so forth? So it seems to me that should be regarded as a wake-up call to all the old religions as well, whether those old religions happen to be the really old religions or the new old religions. my fourth point, and this may require a little elaboration. In recent years, even in America and Europe, many scholars, including people like Charles Taylor, whose book Secular Age has become very dominant, has been reflecting on the phenomenon of the new religiosity, which consists in being spiritual without being religious, or being religious without belonging to any religious institution. And that phenomenon is supposed to be one of the characteristic marks of this age of secularization. And I think that, as she also mentions in the paper, it seems to me that the new religions emerging in Korea since 1980 is precisely an example of this kind of new religiosity, the New Age movement, and so forth. And my question here is this. What is the human significance of this kind of religiosity? Can one really, first of all, I'm not criticizing the value of this new religion simply as a matter of technique. People adopt the yoga for their spiritual well-being. If it's simply a matter of finding one's own kind of psychological well-being and so forth, which any religion can adopt indeed. If it's simply a matter of simple technique of spiritual fulfillment, I don't have any problem with that. I can go and have some yoga exercises and so forth. So if it's simply that kind of thing, I don't see any problem there. I think that can be incorporated into the spirituality of many existing religions. On the other hand, if this becomes a large-scale phenomenon, then it does raise an important question from the perspective of the study of religion as a humanly significant phenomenon. Namely, can a religion which is individualistic, not affiliated with any organization, which does not provide any value or to which to be committed beyond the momentary self-consolation, self-comfort, well-being, peace of mind, and so forth. Can this kind of religion be a real answer to the problems of human existence to which all religions are trying to respond? So my question here is then a question about the enduring possibility and the enduring validity of the new religion, precisely as a religion which is supposed to play a significant role in human life as a whole. But that raises another question, though, and the question of globalization. It seems to me that the new religion itself is a reflection of the cultural aspect of globalization, where by means of the media, the internet, and so forth, somehow globalization tends to trivialize all that. They tend to commercialize all that. They tend to relativize all that, so that it makes any kind of an ethical commitment or religious commitment to anything going beyond the momentary interest somehow impossible. And that, it seems to me, is a threat, not only to any particular religion, it's a threat to all religions, in my view, including the new religions in the old sense of the term. And therefore, I'm inclined to think that even the New Age movement may so be a reflection of this kind of phenomenon of cultural globalization and some kind of a response to that threat. And therefore, it seems to me that somehow we have to find a way of studying the new religions, but perhaps not only new religions, all existing religions, in the context of the kind of threats posed by cultural globalization today. How can religion, whether new or old, really survive the current cultural crisis provided or generated by the phenomenon of globalization today? That, it seems to me, is a very serious threat, and I'm inclined to think that the new religions emerging in Korea since 1980 reflects that kind of crisis, is a response to that crisis, and perhaps that is also the context in which the new religion should be studied. So that means that it seems to me that I am encouraged by the fact that you have a new Academy of New Religions. Yeah, obviously new religions have been isolated and they were not given the kind of credibility and so forth. So it's wonderful to have an academy which will study the new religions in its own right. But I hope that that does not become an occasion for isolating the study of new religions from the larger historical and cultural currents sweeping all of us today in the world. So I am kind of pleading that we try to study the new religion in the context of the globalizing world. Okay, thank you very much.
He made another presentation, so you could see his New Age, and he wondered whether New Age the phenomena is a kind of symptom of secularization and so on. There are another scholars who say the opposite. New Age and the spread of New Age phenomenon is a kind of symptom of sacralization. There is statistics in Europe and so on, and according to the questionnaire surveys, that more people are interested in the values of life and afterlife and so on, even though they are not affiliated with certain established religion. So the spread of New Age is not necessarily a symptom of secularization. There are many, there are controversies about that. And you asked also, New Age would survive some answer to the problem of human existence and so on. It is the same, I could argue the same tone, because the environment movement, eco movement is quite much influenced by New Age movement, and as you know, the film Avatar, there was such an interest. The Avatar is somehow spread New Age spirituality and so on. So I don't make any judgment on this New Age or New Religion and so on. There's always positive side. So I don't condemn them because they are too materialized and so on. But New Age is certainly part of the post-industrial society because it's about money. If you don't have any money to pay the fee, then you cannot take part in some workshop and expensive programs and so on. You also mentioned the old religion and new religion, such a division, whether it is too well defined, because you said, why do so many people from established religion go to the such a training center, retreat center, and so on? But I mentioned in my manuscript, in my presentation, there are many people, they are affiliated to certain religion, but they, at the same time, they go to the workshop. They don't feel any conflict. So I see even many Catholics who take part in such a meditation and so on. So we have to ask ourselves at first why we expect they have tension. Because we in Korea have such a long history of religious pluralism. So it is a quite modern concept of religion. If I belong to one religion and if I another practice, so we have to feel conflict. It is quite a narrow sense of religion, I think. And it's quite changed in modern world, in pluralistic modern world and in Korea even. So I don't know whether I have time. So we can discuss later if you some of you have this question. And another question?
Yeah. We have 5 minutes more, and we can share the question and answer after
The mom student and then Tan training. I had a person is not related to any religion.
New Age religion, but it is the question again how we define religion. If we define religion with such as an organization and so on, I think New Age is Tanokson or Maomson is a kind of between type between new religion and there is a New Age. Then there is very much many types between them. They are organized, but they are not non-organized. And some part of the Han world is quite tightly organized by hierarchical organization. So that is the kind of interesting characteristic of some New Age groups. They are partly quite organized and partly they are loose organized. And if they insist they are not religion, there is a kind of a strategy. If they do not insist we are not religion, that it means many believers from other religions, they wouldn't dare to take part in such a training. So it is a kind of strategy to attract many believers from diverse religious groups. And secondly, they don't want to involve in the discussion whether this organization is a religion or not. So if they would say, we are not religion but commercial group, so they have they are a kind of get rid of the problems. Certainly, Danhak Sonok insists for the first very shortly after they established the Betel Center, they said, we are business group, we are not religion. So they could escape from all the complicated discussion and so on. So it makes the many believers easier to take part in the meditation center. And Maomso is they insist also they are not religion. Am I right? No?
That's correct.
Yeah. So that they could attract.
Yeah, the originator of that Maomso is Wu Myung.
Yeah.
And I have several of his books, and he said that our practice is transcending all the religious practice. So they themselves try to segregate from the rest of the religion. And somewhat I had a feeling that they tried to put themselves even more superior than all other religious practice combined, and which I sometimes, that's quite a daring statement. However, the other one, Tan training, that's more a brain training. In fact, I receive an email literally every day, the Ilchi, Yi Sung-hun. So to me, I have their motto is to promote the Hongik Ingan practice. So it could be, I think it's kind of borderline-ish practice. It depends on how you look at it.
We respect how they insist, how they say we are religion or not. But we have our own criteria. So whether we think whether they have a charismatic leader, they have a very firm organization, they have a committed believers and so on. So according to the criteria, we think they are or that they are not. But we cannot just follow their insistence. They insist we are not religion.
A Pacific Ocean civilization to come in the future. Chapter 2, moral utilization for ceremony. 1, new religion active in moral utilization for ceremony. First, Donghak and Cheondeogyo. Even now, the Cheongsu faith has a strong power in Cheondeogyo, which has inherited Donghak. We can divide its influential aspect into 3 kinds: officer level, private level, and hero level. First, in the officer level, there is Cheongsu Bongjeol, in which the woman dedicates a large bronze bowl of clear water to the center of an altar in Silsi. Silsi means an assembly on Sunday morning. Second, in the private level, each believer holds prayer ceremony in his or her family at 9 p.m. or 5 a.m. every day. At this time, they worship and dedicate the 청수. 청수 means Korean word, which they believe after the prayer ceremonies. This is called to do 번작. 번작 means to bring the 청수 together. Drinking the 청수 together gives their family members more familiarity and filial piety, trust, reliance each other. Third, in the cure level, from the foundation of Donghak to now, the cure effect from drinking the 청수 has taken place library, which the believers take as the 청수 faith. Even now, the 청수 faith gives the believers the effect of reinforcing their faith and increasing their health and happiness and curing their disease. This is the founder of Donghak and Cheondogyong. The second, Soonjo, it inherits the 청수 faith following the Donghak thought. The assembly held in a Buddhist sanctuary is called Yebul. Yebul means respectful prayer, when the 청수 is always worshipped. The 청수 is dedicated to the center of the altar. The 청수 faith, first of all, makes the believers be in perfect harmony with the 하늘님. 하늘님 means heaven God, through the 청수 and get spirit from it, and purify themselves, especially eradicating negative mind. And since all the functions of nature is in the world, and the world is an ancestor and origin of all things in the universe, the believers often call the world 하늘님. Three, 태극도. 태극도 has 복수, symbolized principle, faith. The believers pray in their families at home. They prepare white tables on the center of which 복수 is put, and burn incense and make incantations. After the ceremony, they bring the 복수 together. Four, 정산도. 정산도 has the 청수 faith dedicated to Sangje, God in heaven. When they prepare a bronze bowl of the 청수 and make Taeuljo incantation, the water dedicated to the altar turns into 복록수. 복록수 means a holy mineral water. When a person drinks this 복록수, many pure phenomena happen. The 복록수 connects body and spirit, and Sangje. Sangje means heaven God. Dedicating the 청수 while offering a devout prayer is called 청수 치성. 22nd December every year, they have a special ceremony or a festival. This is last December, 치성. This is black card. It's a lamp. They play the lamp festival. And this is altar. Some representatives of members are here, and they prepare for Sangje. This is the main food and fruit. This bowl is bronze bowl, which take clear word, 청수. It's located center. The investigation of the 복록수, over which the Taeuljo incantation has been made for 2 hours shows that the water has been turned into 육각수. 육각수 means hexagonal ring structured water. This investigational result confirmed the scientific rationality of the pure function of the Bongloksu. The Bongloksu is used as a sacrifice to be dedicated to Sangye, and they emphasize the aspect of modern religion based on the silence. 5. 찬물교. 찬물 means cold clean water. 찬물교 is the case in which a religion is founded and propagated on the basis that water is the core of faith in Korean new religion. He originated Simsu water principle combined with the mind principle, in which you can dedicate cool water and recite an incantation and come to have a pure mind and purify the mind. That is the cause of disease, and finally cure the disease in your body. This suggested that Chanmuldo has not remained on the level of enchantment, but has developed into a national religion having psychological sense. 6. 천부교. 생명수. 생명수 means life water springs up in the area Gizang, where the headquarters of Cheonbugo is located. Therefore, the believers love to use the 생명수. At dawn of the blessing day, which is the third Sunday every month, the believers get together from all around the country, put the 생명수 into vessels. Then in the 생명수, eat gruel made of the 생명수, and at 10 a.m. participate in the morning mass assembly of modern style. Sometimes at dawn of this blessing day, a fire column comes down from heaven. They also popularized the 생명수 by selling 신앙촌 생명수, soda, or chocolate, made of the 생명수. 생명수 means life water. Nationally, the 신앙촌 stores sell 생명수 soda. And they wash the dead body with the 생명수 and put it into his or her mouth, so that the spirit may go to heaven. They believe that this. They have believed that the hardened and turned darkness dead body changes into white and soft dead body when they apply the 생명수 on the dead body and wash it with the 생명수. And the spirit, the master of the dead body, goes on the salvation way toward heaven. The resurrection faith combined with water is very strong. This is he is a founder of the Cheonbugo. This is paper for the citizens to announce the 생명수 soil. This is some products they made. 7. 승리제단. In 승리제단, honeydew, holy God, comes down from heaven during worship. God in heaven shows itself as a light or dew. If a believer gets honeydew, holy God, his or her skin gets fresh, and the devil's rotten blood in his or her body turns into fresh blood, worshipping heaven God, which leads him or to eternal life. When divinity is given to water, the water becomes the 생명수, 육각수 of life. Eventually, drinking the mineral water makes the blood clear. After the blood is made clear, the soul of the dead living in the blood of posterity is purified completely, and the rotten blood comes to be discharged. And as blood having been dirty with sin becomes clean. If a person gets honeydew or is up, the devil in the body naturally comes to be dead, and additionally, a disease cure phenomenon happens. Also, they commercialize this mineral water effect by selling nano-wave water purifier. The person who drinks this nano water can keep his or her youth. He is a founder of Seongjeda. This photo is when his mother had a dream. 10 angels come down from heaven and worship his mother. This is honeydew. When choir sing a song, this is honeydew, like this. This is another symmetry. When the founder have a speech, this is honeydew. Very bright and colorful honeydew. This is another honeydew. So there are many kinds of honeydew when they have assembly. 대종교. 대종사 나철 is the founder of 대종교. He formed formalities to get out of the Confucian formality. Also in 1916, he formed Chunje, heavenly God, formalities to prepare Chunsu, moral to respect heavenly God, and the rice and side dishes of edible whole, instead of dedicating meat and peace. Each believer can pray privately and freely as he prepares Chunsu basically, and dedicate white rice cake and Chunsu on a special day. They emphasized and inherit Jeonghwasu, devout prayer, thought of the Korean, in which people traditionally pray over a bowl of Chunsu, a place like the terrace where soy jars and fermented soybean pesto, etc. are placed. 9. Unificationism. First, they hold Seongjushik, holy wine ceremony, and Seongsushik, holy water ceremony, and joy, blessing wedding ceremony. This is a scene of the scatters of holy water to the bridegroom and bride. This is holy wedding ceremony. Second, in 1971, Unification has been founded training center in Gangwon-do, in Korea. Sengyungsu and Cheonshinsu, heaven God water, spring up there, and the believers love to use them. This picture is this is the Sengyungsu. This is Cheonshinsu. There are two springs. There are two wells spring up. Many believers enjoy Sengyungsu or Cheonshinsu. Third, Unification sells popular drinks, including Ilhwa, Mekol, and Chojang mineral water, etc. Ilhwa incorporates started its business with the aim of keeping human beings healthy in 1971. All of these activities have the meaning of peace, joy, of uniting human beings by using mineral water to be one united, one unity. Fourth, sometimes foot washing ceremony is performed. It's also being introduced in a coming to faith ceremony. And 갱정 유도회. In 갱정 유도회, the believers serve devout prayer using the 정화수, every 24 Julgi, the subdivisions of the seasons on lunar calendar. The individual believers sometimes worship the 정화수 at home at dawn. After the devout prayer, they shift 3 times a person together, which means 천지, 천지인. 천지 means heaven, earth, man. They should prepare the water as clear as possible in the middle of a mountain, and when getting the water from hills, well, they should draw it freshly at dawn of the determined day. Chapter 2. New religions enacted in water utilization ceremony. 원 부디즘 개순진리의 금강제도. 3. Ocean improvement. One Buddhism started as a religion for all and practical religion, as proclaiming matter is a convulsed, evolutionized mind. Soktasan, he is a founder of the Won Buddhism. Soktasan spread practical movement to save the farming population in agony from poverty by constructing embankment with his disciples in March 1918. This embankment construction is a representative ocean improvement of Won Buddhism. Afterward, such a spirit was connected to an independent spirit. Now organizing 공공회, they try for self-reliance, services, education, charity, helping North Korean defectors, alternative schools, constructing eco-friendly houses, and so on. Considering the current of the times, when they asserted that 150 years ago, it was impossible even to imagine that living things live in the ocean. The embankment construction was a revolutionary conception, but it doesn't continue now. He's the founder of Won Buddhism. 정산도, the event that Zhengshan Gang controlled artificially the ocean water of Jeju Island in 1903 can be thought in relation to ocean improvement. He came down to Hallyu, seashore of Jeju Island, seaside with his 2 disciples. Women divers were working as usual, going in and coming out of the sea. Then as soon as he made the incantation on a hill, suddenly sea water was pushed out, and on making an incantation again, the sea water came in. Women divers were at a loss without knowing the cause, and the disciples were busy in picking up brown seaweed. He produced such an event 2 times a day, one in the morning and the other in the evening. He said to the disciples in emphasis, "This is the harmony between heaven and earth." This event was corresponded to foreseeing an ocean era to come in the future, but was not practiced. He is the founder of Zhengshan. 3. Unification. In unification, ocean improvement is asserted and realized as the name of ocean providence. The ocean providence has been emphasized and foretold since the initial time of unification. This is evident in the proclamation that all the civilization developed on land and the civilization developed on the rivers and seasides should result in the Pacific Ocean civilization to which Korea belongs. In other words, the Pacific Ocean civilization will come in the future world. So, ocean civilization should be developed. The concrete programs to realize it include Korean-Japan international marriage to promote the familiarity between two countries. Maritime fishing, Korea-Japan undersea tunnel construction, and the World Peacekeeping Bridge and Tunnel of the Bering Strait construction, connecting Russia and Alaska, and so on. Because Korea and Japan are like Adam and Eve of the Bible, two countries should be one like a couple to be a leader to the Pacific Ocean civilization. This corporate view of nation helps realize the hard project. In the keynote address of the 10th International Science Education Federation, which opened in November 10, in 1981, Sun Myung-moon suggested to construct international highway, mentioning to realize the peaceful world in the future of mankind. This highway connects Japan with the Han Peninsula, with China, continent with Middle Asia, with Russia, with Europe, to respect world peace to be established through love of mankind, transcending nationality. In the Universal Peace Federation Foundation Convention opened in New York on September 12 in 2005, World Peacekeeping Bridge and Tunnel of Bering Strait to connect Russia with Alaska was suggested, and work concern is going on. Education has executed marine training program at Yesu in the Jeollanam-do since November 18 in 2004, and the power-driven marine laser equipment operation license acquisition training program since 2005. Up to now, 5,400 persons have completed the program, and 3,000 persons among them have acquired operator license, and most of them are Japanese women. Like the above mentioned, as a religion for all, having emphasized and realized marine fisheries since the initial time Impressionism, is preparing for the arrival of the Pacific Ocean civilization era. The Korea-Japan undersea tunnel, the international highway, the Bering Strait tunnel, and the marine equipment operation. License acquisition will lead the marine fishery and the marine laser in the future, and contribute to the transition from the continent-centered civilization to the ocean-centered civilization. That is, all of these activities will develop marine management, solution to food problem, and marine development, resources development, future energy, and laser culture, boat fishing, to contribute to realize world peace. This picture is the tunnel between Japan and Korea. This is Bering Strait. So they call this the Y project. This is the Y. Okay. Left side, right side. Some members prepare Y project. Origin is indispensable to human society, so from ancient times it has been considered as the origin of life and abundance, as having the function of divinity and purification, and also has been used in various religious life. Having inherited Jeonghwa-soo faith, which had been handed down from old times, Korean new religion tried to reform the society with the Cheongsu faith, and the thought has continued up to now. And it has its position as a oral faith, while reflecting itself in life and the names of Jeonghwa-soo, Bop-soo, Cheon-soo, Seng-soo, Bonglok-soo, Seng-myeong-soo, and Cheon-shin-soo. The new religions active in oral declaration in ceremonies include Cheondogyo, Suwongyo, Taegukdo, Jeongsamdo, Chanmulgyo, and Cheonbugyo, Seungmije당, and Daejonggyo, Impressionism, Yudo Genggyeong. And the new religion enacted it, one Buddhism, Joseon-Juliet and Kumandero. The view of God, such as heaven God, moral God, fire God, ancestral God, and so on. The thought of unity of heaven God, heaven and earth, and man, and immortality of thought are inherent in the world faith. And the phenomenon to cure disease in the world is being supported by modern scientific view of value on the world yukaksu and possibility of healing symptoms. So after this characteristic has cast off its enchanting element, it changes itself into modernization and development future. Some religions produce and sell some products to propagate their world faith. So for ocean improvement, one Buddhism was active as effective embankment construction in the initial period. But since
그럼 나머지는 여기 자료를 좀
오케이,
가지고
예, 예.
나머지는 자료를 좀
네, 네.
가지고 이제 우리 케빈 우리 캐시 캔디데이트의